Hey, it's 7:27 p.m. on Wednesday for a show called Tinker Tuesday. I apologize for the lateness of this installment of Tinker Tuesday. However, this past weekend did chew up quite a bit of time. If you do find yourself somewhat dissatisfied with the service that I've provided, please go and consider supporting the channel by going to the merch links below and getting a nice t-shirt with this logo on it, or some of the other ones that are available. If your tastes are a little bit more on the expensive side, I've added a $1,000 t-shirt option there. It's just a blank black t-shirt. Or possibly you're not looking to get any merchandise whatsoever and you just want to throw some money at the channel to make sure that it's supported, go ahead and consider contributing to the Patreon that I set up purely for this intro. Thank you. Today, I'm going to finally finish a task that I've been talking about finishing for the last year. And it involves these SKS longboard P45 Fenders, along with these Easton EA50 flat bar mountain bike bars, and something else that I kind of can't find. I guess these brake levers. These brake levers make sense. That's what it is. And the winning candidate for a lifetime of absolute winter beating, of course, is the infamous dirt cheap gravel bike build. Okay, so no doubt winter commuting, fairly miserable practice to take on. Something that I've actually fought with a lot on this channel. I've made a lot of videos in the past talking about just tolerating the crappiness of riding through slush, rain, snow, ice, cold weather, overall being wet when you get to work. All of that kind of was like a funny thing to say, but also a tolerable way to work when you're in a bike shop with like a heater that's blowing on you, kind of like what's happening in my home shop right now. But considering where I'm working in an office now, where I should probably have clean clothes and I don't move around a lot, it does become a little bit more challenging now, and sitting around wet is that little bit less tolerable. I've done it, but it's just that little bit less tolerable. Actually, today would have been a good example of a fun commute that I didn't take on because I knew it was going to get wet. Snow. Riding in the snow is a good time. I definitely recommend taking it on whenever the opportunity presents itself. But of course, what is fun one day is typically not practical the rest. So, considering all the bikes that I have built would be like the metaphorical equivalent to crappy Miatas and crappy GTIs and crappy Corrados, and overall just crappy European sports cars that I've tried to make seem more appealing, that I've kind of forgotten to put myself together a bit of a reliable Corolla. Go to the merch link below so I can go buy a Ferrari. So the fenders I think probably make sense. Obviously I'm putting them on so that my feet, my back, and basically my legs stay dry on a wet ride. The purpose of these requires zero explanation. The reason that I'm swapping to a flat bar with these kind of brake levers is purely because I want the brakes to operate exactly the way they're supposed to. Right now with those SRAM brake levers and the V-brakes that are on there, the pull ratio is not right, so they're not working the way they're supposed to. The brake pads are way too close to the rim, therefore they'll be rubbing within no time, and I don't really feel like dealing with that. Now, the particular model of fenders that I bought were very specific and do deserve a bit more of an explanation. These are the SKS longboard P45s. The reason I bought them is because of this. Look how low to the ground this fender goes. Do you know what this means? This means dry feet. Also it looks way better than fenders that end here. Besides the coverage that these offer, there's not really anything else that I consider to be out of this world. They are kind of cool that they use like an aluminum core with like plastic resin kind of built over it, so they're supposed to be very indestructible flexible, all that good stuff. I've never really had Fenders give me trouble with durability, so not a huge selling feature, but the coverage is what we're after here. This is sweet. And I feel like Fenders have this like kind of unfair stereotype of being like really hard and sort of unintuitive to install. And I think that kind of comes down to the fact that they send you hardware for literally any problem that could arise. But it really is way more simple than that. Save yourself some of the trouble up front by putting them together on a bench before you try to do it on a bike. Now, once you got to this point, it's as simple as dagnab, put some bolts in, and call it a Daryl. They're on. You can trim all of this off, which I probably will do, but I don't want to use an angle grinder on it because oil has fallen on the floor in here, and it's a wood floor, so it'll probably catch fire. Man. I kind of couldn't help it, and I just had to take this out and see how good these Fenders do work with how low they are. Rode through like every puddle, dry, completely dry. Not the least to mention how good it wears them. So hardly anything groundbreaking going on here. You know, Fenders are not exactly a new invention in any way, shape, or form. It's just that I've spent so much time saying that I didn't like the way they looked, that I didn't need them, and that they, you know, ultimately I just kind of thought they were dorky looking, so I avoided them as much as I could. Of course, until I came across these, which I'm really quite fond of the look of. The benefit of being dry in wet conditions is just like, that's a plus, which is a very backwards way of looking at it. But at the very least, again, nothing groundbreaking here. I'm dry, and the dirt cheap gravel bike looks super good, and I'm going to use it a hell of a lot more than I ever did as like a hard geared drop bar single speed bike. I'm like excited for it to rain snow again, because I'm going to ride to work in it. And I'm going to be like kind of dry. Okay, that's all I've got for this Tinker Tuesday. That's uploaded at probably Thursday at this point. Again, if you want to ensure that these videos come out on time, consider going out of your way to support the channel in any way that you feel appropriate. Okay, now go to your workshop area and work on something you've got.